Are you ready to kick winter to the curb and ring in spring? Well, today I have you covered with some of the most easy and affordable spring DIYs. I can't wait to share these Dollar Tree thrifted items. They are so easy to find, and I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions, so let's get to it. First thing for this project you need to do is head straight to Dollar Tree to their plus section and grab one of these jumbo large Easter eggs. Now, they're only $3, and that's the best price I've seen. However, if you can't find one of these, Walmart does have this little nesting set that you can pick up, or you may actually have something similar to this that you've seen in years past where it can hold like toys or other eggs. Anything in that Easter egg shape will work perfect for this project. Go ahead and separate the top and the bottom because we only need the top for this project, but hang tight because I will show you another project where we will be using the bottom half. The first thing you need to do is to go ahead and cover it with duct tape because we will be applying rope all over using some hot glue, and hot glue does not like to stick onto plastic, so the duct tape will be a better adherence for that hot glue. A couple things to keep in mind. One, the duct tape does not have to be perfect, nor do you need to cover the entire thing. I do end up covering most of it, but I honestly covered even more than is necessary. Also, if you do not put your rope super tight together, you may choose to go in with a darker color so that if you have a little peekaboo, you won't have a bright color peeking through, and luckily they do make a black duct tape. You also want to make sure that you grab some Dollar Tree rope. Now I use 6, but that really depends on the size of your egg and how tight you wrap it while you're wrapping it around. So now it's time to start actually putting the beehive together, and I just use a little bit of hot glue to do that. So I just take the end of the rope and I fold it over, added a little hot glue, I hold it there till it's secure, and then I just coil it in a little bit more, use some hot glue. Once I have a few little rows, then I attach it to the top of the egg and continue wrapping it around using hot glue to secure it as I go. Like I mentioned earlier, I like to keep it nice and tight so there's no peekaboo of the pink coming through, but it's honestly just a personal preference. After you finish one rope, go ahead and start your other rope right where you left off. And as you can see, I didn't even bother taking the tape off. I don't even think it distracts from it in the finished product. Just keep working your way all the way down until the egg is completely covered. Once you get to the end of your egg, just make sure that you just have it completely covered, even if you have to add in a little bit more rope to do so, because you don't want any of that egg poking through. For the door, you just want to get some more rope and then create a circle, about a 2-inch circle. And once you have that, then you can just cut your rope and then use some hot glue to secure that circle together. From there, just place it on your beehive. I used a Sharpie to trace the inside of that so I would know exactly what I was doing. Took some black paint and painted the inside of that circle and then hot glued that rope in place. Now, to be honest, I still had to go back in with some more black paint to make sure that that black paint came all the way up to that little rope door so that no rope was peeking through those edges. And then I set it to burn. No, really, if you've never seen all the little frayed edges on rope, they stick up, and if you take a lighter to it, it will singe those edges so that this has a much cleaner look to it. But as you can tell, it doesn't go up in flames. It just singes those like wild edges. I actually even concentrated on the tape where the two ropes came together and melted that into place so that it kind of melted in a little bit. Once I did that, it was all done. I think this is so cute. I absolutely love it, and there is so much bead decor that you can get to go along with it. I mean, absolutely perfect for spring and summer. And of course, we need to use the bottom of the egg as well, and I absolutely love this technique. So we're going to start off by taking a paint and some baking soda, and you're going to mix them so it's rather thick. So I actually added in enough baking soda that when I picked up my spatula, that think like Dairy Queen Blizzard, it's not gonna fall out. That's how thick you want it for this first step. And then I'm just actually using the spatula itself to just like rub this all over this egg. We're gonna call this a bowl at this point. It's just easier to call it a bowl. So we're gonna rub it all over the bottom of the bowl. And I chose to go in with a dark gray because I'm going more for like a cement concrete kind of look. And I really wanted that stone feel. So you're just gonna rub it all over. Don't worry about the gaps at this point. It doesn't even matter. Once you have about 80% of it covered, you have some good highs and lows, then you can just set it aside and let it dry. And it's gonna take a little bit of time because it's pretty thick. After that, then you can go in with a lighter color, and I'm just using a lighter gray here and a really cheap brush. Now this time I am covering up most of the pink and some of the gray. Again, I'm not going for full coverage. I'm still gonna have some of that darker gray peeking through at the end. I'm definitely gonna make sure I have some dark and light colors. It's just building on one another. While the outside of the bowl is drying, this is a really good time to go ahead and start painting the inside of the bowl as well. I'm just giving the inside a quick coat of that darker gray that I used earlier. Once everything dries, now it's time to add that final layer. So this time you're going to take your paint and mix it with baking soda, but you do not need it as thick as you had it earlier. You're going to get more of the consistency of, let's say, a brownie batter. Again, going in with a cheap brush, you just want to stipple it on in different areas to create more texture and depth, leaving still some of that lighter gray peeking through. So you're going to do this to the outside of it, and then you're actually going to do some of this to the inside of it as well, so that the inside also has some texture. It just won't be as textured as the outside, but you want to make sure that this looks like it's one piece and take away any of that plasticky look that it originally had. Immediately you can go back in with some of that lighter color to add some definition again, to make sure that you have that contrasting of that light and dark. Of course the inside's gonna need it, but if you went a little heavy-handed on the outside, like I did in some areas, you will definitely want to do that on the outside as well. But the final result, you will never believe that this started out as a plastic bottom of an egg. It is stunning. It is absolutely beautiful in my opinion. I love it. For those of you wondering how well this will hold up, well, here is a planner that I did last summer using the exact same technique. I just used less baking soda, and through Texas heat, ice, and rain, it is still holding up beautifully. When is the last time that you stopped and looked at the flowers at Walmart? Because they have a beautiful selection and they are such affordable prices. Now, I was drawn to these specifically. These are Cabbage Roses. I love the color, and they kind of have a peony vibe, in my opinion. So here's my tip. If you find something that you really like and they're a little bit pricier, so these are $4, not outrageous, but a little bit more expensive, grab those, but pair them with something that is less expensive. So that's what I'm doing here. I grabbed these. These are only $2, and I'm going to put the combination together. Now you can go ahead and just use any vase that you want. You probably have several on hand, or you can just pick one up at the dollar store. But if you really want to take it up a notch for spring, I really love to use pitchers or watering cans. Now, I happen to grab this pitcher on clearance, which is one of my favorite ways to pick things up, but you can find items like this in thrift stores all of the time. If you have a really deep pitcher like I do, you're going to want to make sure that you stuff it. I'm using some plastic bags, but you could also use some floral foam. It's just kind of whatever you happen to have on hand. Next, you need to prep all of your flowers, and you can either trim them like I am with a pair of wire cutters, or you can bend the longer stems. Now, I do recommend that you go ahead and you cut the smaller ones apart. I find that that will really help you get a fuller bunch. If you leave them together, you're going to find that they kind of clump together. When you're putting the flowers in your container, you want to put the taller ones towards the center, and then you're going to place the shorter ones on the outside. And those smaller ones are really what's going to help give it that fullness that you're looking for. Make sure that you are bending those wires though, so that you get a nice organic look and they're not looking really stiff. By spending a couple of minutes, look what a beautiful arrangement you can have. I think it looks absolutely stunning. Okay, I already know that you know all about the Dollar Tree dishes and what a good deal I think they are. If you missed my 75 things that I think you should still be buying at Dollar Tree, make sure you check that video out because these are great for your everyday dishes. However, did you know that you can get china at a thrift store for $1 a piece? China, you guys. What a fantastic deal. This is a set I just found at my local thrift store. I think it is stunning. Now, last year, this is the set that I found. I used it for Easter. I plan on using it every year, and I got it for $10 for the entire set. Question, do you have a plus section at your Dollar Tree? Because all of the Dollar Trees around me have added in a plus section. And in the plus section, there is a crafting section. And let me tell you, after looking online and in stores, I actually find that this is a really good section to check out. I went ahead and grabbed one of the wood rounds. If you can't find it at your Dollar Tree, Target also carries the exact same wood round. I also wanted a smaller one, so I went ahead and I picked up the smaller one at Hobby Lobby. It is 9 inches, and the larger one, again, is from Dollar Tree, and it is 11 inches. For the center of my pedestal, I wanted to use a bun foot, but for this price, no thank you. One option is to buy a piece of furniture just for the feet, or if you happen to have a piece of furniture you're getting rid of and you like the feet, keep the feet. Another great option is just check at your local thrift store because so often they have just a huge basket or box full of them just lying around, and you're going to get them for such a better price. I got this huge one for just under $1. If it still has a screw in it, go ahead and remove that, and then you want to sand everything to make sure that you have nice and smooth edges. With the foot, I went ahead and I sanded that as well, even though it was smooth, because it's been on a floor before, it does get a little bit gunky, and I wanted to make sure that I got all of that gunky off because that could interfere with its adherence to the wood. So better safe than sorry. Now you want to go ahead and use some wood glue in order to attach everything together. I also like to use a silicone brush to brush that around so that I don't get any of that wood glue oozing out once I attach that or place it down. So go ahead and place that onto the bottom. Then just repeat the exact same thing with the top of it so that all the pieces are stacked. Now, while the glue is drying, I do like to place something heavy on it because it's an awkward shape. I'd rather do that than use wood clamps. After that, you just want to paint it so that it comes together and it looks like one solid piece. I'm actually choosing to paint it with 3 different colors. I'm taking a white, a blue, and a brown, and I'm thinning them out with water because I don't want the paint to be too thick. For my first coat, I go in with Wave Release chalk paint in Fawn, and I give it a good coat all over the entire stand. Because I'm personally a little bit too impatient to wait for it to dry, I went ahead and used a heat gun to help speed up the process of drying in between coats. Then I went in with Wave Release chalk paint in Pull and brushed on a pretty decent coat, but I wasn't really worried if I had full coverage. So this is what it looked like before I went in with Wave Release chalk paint in white. I did add just a little bit of Fawn to give it a little bit more of a creamy white than a stark white. The last thing you want to do is you want to seal it to protect it. So here I have 2 different waxes. I have a beeswax, which is really easy to find, and you can find it in your local hardware store, or the DIY wax, which if you go to their website, which is this DIYpaint.co, you can find someone locally that sells it. I like to use a pretty dense brush when I'm applying it, and I just like to rub it in and just coat the entire thing. Once you have coated everything, go ahead and take a rag and wipe off the excess. After like 24 hours, you can come back in and buff it. The more you buff it, the more shine you will get with it. I think that this turned out so beautiful. I love the 3 colors together. Now, if you really want to take this up a level, pick up a cloche topper to go on top of it. This is the china I was telling you about earlier. I think this is a beautiful way to display your china. At the thrift store, of course, I couldn't resist picking up another bag of feet because this entire bag cost me $3. That is 50 cents a foot. Now, if you get lucky enough that you get some of those little felt pads on the bottom, go ahead and just pop those off, and then if you have some sticky residue, use your heat gun, heat that up, and then scrape it off, and then these are pretty much good to go. For the screws, just twist those out. To fill in the holes, I'm actually going in with some quick wood. This is actually a 2-part compound. It comes in this tube. You just kind of slice off part of it, and you have one compound on the outside and another compound on the inside, and you just kind of knead it together until the two parts are combined. And then you can just push it into the holes. I like to scrape off any of the excess. Make sure that you just let it set up until it's nice and hard, and then go ahead and sand everything until it's smooth. Now it's time for you to go ahead and paint them. Now, if you want to keep them the same tone that they are, you can always mix a couple of colors together like I am. So here I have Waverly's Wax and Antique and black mixed together. You just want to make sure that you're covering up the quick wood as well as any other parts that are really overly distressed, like the bottom of the pieces, and making sure that you're blending your new color and your old color together so that it seems more seamless. If you're going for a lighter color or a different color, then go ahead and completely cover them in paint. I'm actually going for 2 different colors, so I'm layering them. I'm starting off with Waverly's chalk paint in Fawn. So I brush on a thin layer, and I actually wipe it back with a cloth, removing some of the excess paint because I just really wanted a nice thin layer. Once that dried, I then went in with Waverly's chalk paint in white, mixed in with a little bit of Fawn to take back that really stark white. I wanted more of a creamy color of that. And I actually went in with 2 coats of that. So I put the first coat on, let it dry, then added the second coat. After that second coat dried, I went in with a damp cloth and I did a wet distress. And I pulled back some of that white paint to reveal some of that fawn color as well as that original wood. And I really love how this all came together. You do want to make sure that you seal them to protect them. I'm just using DIY's wax. I'm brushing it on and then taking a cloth to wipe back any extra. After 24 hours, make sure you do go in and buff them. And again, the longer you buff, the shinier you get. I get questions about what brush I use for buffing, and this is the brush I use for buffing. I just get it on Amazon. I'll make sure I link it for you down below. I think these look so good, and no one would ever think that these were originally bun feet meant for your sofa. I think they look gorgeous and high-end. I absolutely love them. Okay, I know you have done this where you have gone shopping and you've seen something that you really like and you're like, I can make it for so much less. I know I can do a better job. Well, that is exactly how I felt about this Hobby Lobby tray. But first, did you know that you can actually find free wood by searching Facebook Marketplace? Yeah, just go in, type in free wood. You have to do a little bit of scrolling, but this is what I found today. Somebody was giving away all this wood and they were just leaving it out. You can come pick it up, and if no one picked it up, they were going to toss it out by Monday. You might be like me where you have a little bit of your own stash lying around from past projects. So I went ahead and just grabbed a piece right out of my stash, and it was the perfect size to do a tray. It's a good idea to go ahead and take your sander to it just to make sure it's nice and smooth all the way around. After that, go ahead and drill your holes in on each side. Here you see that I have a little template that I created with a piece of paper. I just punched out exactly where I wanted my holes, and that way my holes would match up on both sides. So at this point, you can go ahead and paint it, stain it, whatever you want. I decided to do a whitewash, so I took some white paint and I just really thinned it out, and I'm brushing that on. And once it's completely brushed on, then I can go back and wipe it off. Now, as you can see, not only do I have the main board for the tray, but I also have 2 smaller pieces. Those smaller pieces are actually going to be the feet. So the length of those are the width of the board, and then they're 1 1/4 inch wide. I really love how the whitewash turned out. Now, if you want to have it be a little lighter than this, you would leave the paint on just a little bit longer so that it would dry a little bit more, and you would have even a lighter tone than this. For the handles, you're just going to take some thicker jute, twine, whatever you want to call it, and thread that through some beads. The size beads I'm using are some 20 millimeters. Once you have those all threaded on, then you can twist those and push those through the holes. To secure them down, you're just going to knot those on the back side. Once you know you have them exactly the way you want them, then you're just going to trim off the extra twine, and they are ready to go. The last thing you need to do is secure those feet down using some wood glue and secure it with some wood clamps while it's drying. And you have yourself a beautiful tray that is definitely better than the one in the store, and it was so much less money. I absolutely love this. Here's another video that I picked out for you. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!